2018. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Star Ledger, the Independent, and the two times and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building and filing with the Township Clerk on January 18, 2018. Committeeman Fiore. Here. Committeeman Heidel.
Here.
Committeeman Perry.
Here.
Acting Mayor Sedembrino.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor our troops serving worldwide, defending our constitutions, freedoms, and way of life. Thank you. Our first item on tonight's agenda under administration of oath of office, we begin with Resolution 18-184, a resolution appointing a new Township Committee member.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I submit the name to the committee of Pat Snell.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Acting Mayor Sedembrino.
Yes.
Motion carries for nomination of Patricia Snell. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 18-184, and I'm going to read it into the record. Resolution making the appointment of temporary successor to fill vacancy on the Township Committee until certification of general elections for an unexpired term of Stephanie Murray. Whereas effective June 22nd, 2018, Stephanie Murray resigned from the Township Committee, and whereas Stephanie Murray was a Republican office holder pursuant to NJSA 40A:16-11. The Republican Executive Committee of the Township of Middletown convened the meeting and selected 3 names to submit to the Township Committee for consideration to fill the vacancy. And whereas the Republican Executive Committee submitted the names of Greta CBH, Patricia Snell, and Christopher Avita for the Township Committee's consideration, which now must be acted upon by the Township Committee by selection of one of these 3 names to fill a vacancy. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Middletown and the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, that it hereby selects Patricia Snell to serve on the Township Committee to be sworn in immediately to serve until the certification of the next general election for the unexpired term of Stephanie Murray.
Motion to adopt, please.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Acting Mayor Sedembrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt Resolution 18-184. At this time, I'd like to invite Patricia Snell and your family to please come forward for your oath of office. At this time, I'd like to also invite our Freeholder Director, Thomas Arno, to please come forward.
Tell me what to do. They're going to come on over here. You're going to come here so you can get it. Your whole family's going to come right here. Come on. And who's going to hold it? Repeat after me. I state your name.
I
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and I do swear
and I do swear
to faithfully,
to faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and to perform
all the duties
all the duties
of the Township Committee
of the Township Committee
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Sure, get your pictures of the families. Get in.
You're now part of the family, Tom.
Thank you.
We're gonna look for you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Go up there.
Get back out now.
Our next item on tonight's agenda, we have oath of office for mayor and deputy mayor. At this time, it is necessary to have the Township Committee nominate a mayor for the balance of the term for 2018.
I'd like to nominate Kevin Cinebrino.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore,
Yes.
Committeeman Hybel,
Yes.
Committeeman Perry,
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
The motion carries for nomination for Kevin Sedambrino as mayor for 2018. I'd like to invite you to come forward with your family, and if Thomas Arnone would please also come forward for the oath of office.
So before I start, I'd just like to say this on behalf of the sheriff and our assemblywoman, and of course, we all know Jerry, here in the room there. It's an honor to be here, and, you know, there's people being sworn in, it's a large county, and we can't always make everything that we can, but when it comes to Middletown, because truly, I mean, people can say all they want, this is the backbone. It's our largest municipality. It drives all the other municipalities to success here. And it's because of the leadership that we're about to have, what we've had in the past, and what will always be in the future. When you see coming in and all the new members, the bench is just a thriving bench for the success of Middletown. So it's an honor to be here, and I'm sure Sheriff Jerry and Assemblywoman Serena here also. Ready?
Ready.
I state your name.
I, Kevin Cinebrino,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments
in the
established
United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people.
and I do swear
I do swear
to faithfully,
to faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of mayor
of mayor
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
At this time, it is necessary for the Township Committee to nominate a deputy mayor for the balance of 2018.
Mr. Clerk, I nominate Tony Fiore for deputy mayor.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore,
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel,
Yes.
Committeeman Perry,
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell,
Yes.
Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries nomination. At this time, I'd like to invite Tony Fiore to please come forward with your family and also invite back Thomas Arnone.
Busy night.
Family has gymnastics tonight, so the poor mom is mayor.
Tom, you got to memorize that?
You deputy mayor. So, good. So, just to add a little bit on Tony, and I think, piggybacking on what I said before, the success in Middletown also has contributed to the experience. And I'm seeing that with having my partner up there, Jerry, up on the board with me on the Freeholder board, and that knowledge that he brings to the board, and then the knowledge that you have here, and having Tony and Kevin there, and with our new board here, someday, that's just a flip side, they'll be up there with all those years of experience there, and the new people coming up. So it's a credit to the way that you guys run the whole system here and bringing up these great candidates. Repeat after me.
Sir.
I state your name.
I, Anthony Fiore,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New
and
Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority
under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
and I do swear
and I do swear
to faithfully,
to faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of deputy mayor
of deputy mayor
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
So can we just do like a few more? Anybody else want to do something? Thank you, Middletown.
Our final oath of office tonight will be for promotion of police officer Brian McGrogan to sergeant. I'd like to invite you to please come forward with your family.
I,
Brian Brogan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the
state,
and to the governments established in the United States
and the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and I do swear to faithfully,
and I do swear faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
police sergeant
police sergeant
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. We want to take a couple minutes of the chief say a couple words, please.
Don't get a full house, and I won't take up too much time. Well, thank the governing body and the mayor for allowing us to make a promotion tonight. Officer McGrogan joined the police department in 2006. He's truly been a model employee. Has earned the respect and admiration of his colleagues, as witnessed by the large turnout tonight. Officers can't witness his promotion. In addition to his normal duties, he's taken on a number of his specialized assignments over the years to serve being field training officer, training on news recruits, member of the Monmouth County Rapid Force, and outstanding canine handler with Jax, his bloodhound. I don't know how she feels about the promotion. He was also appointed Officer of the Year in 2013 as best officer in the department, and he's demonstrated over the years he has the character, integrity, judgment, and leadership to be an outstanding sergeant. Confidence goes to Richard.
Looks like you got a haircut. Pretty big event. It's hard to tell.
Our next item on tonight's agenda, we have certificates of appreciation and proclamations. Our first item to that, we have the county flag presentation by Freeholder Director Towne Centre to the township. I'd like to invite Freeholder Director and also Freeholder Gerard Sharpner to please come forward.
So since I was up here before, we had a meeting a few weeks ago, and totally the county's mistake here. We mistaken days, we changed the meeting, and we didn't inform the township properly. So I take full responsibility for that. On missing the days, messing up the and so we always present the town with the county flag. So, but to be honest with you, my mistake is Jerry's game, because now he is out in front of all his constituents here in Middletown. He's going to have the honor of presenting our county flag in front of a large crowd. Boy, he turned real quick.
It was either that or a t-shirt that said, we had a meeting here, and all we got is this t-shirt.
Since we have the sheriff and our assemblywoman here, should we have him come up and join us?
This is the second best gift this month. Light.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, they did. What do they call that?
proclaming August 7, 2018 for Police National Night Out in Middletown Township event. At this time, I'd like to invite Chief Craig Weber to please come forward.
So this evening we have another proclamation from the Office of the Mayor for National Night Out dated August 7th, 2018. And this is critical that the police department do a little bit about this in regard to National Night Out. Before I read the resolution, I'm not going to read the resolution. What I'd like you to do is speak a little bit about the National Night Out, the police department involved in it, and the critical nature of the promotion of public safety with National Night Out.
Thank you, Mayor. National Night Out was began in 1983 and still nationwide. It's an opportunity for the community to come out, meet the members of the department, and interact with the officers and see some of that equipment. Last year was actually the first time we were here in the parking lot, very successful. This year we're moving the event to the Middletown Center and the train station on Church Street, and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on August 7th, so this is for Tuesday. And August, we'll have K.I.'s in the hand, police explorers, go to the event, and also relations officer.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Did
you say something?
Chief, everyone here is going to be a National Night Out, right?
ordinances. Our first ordinance for public hearing, 2018-3225, ordinance amending Chapter 465-96 of the Code of the Township of Middletown, adding parking restrictions along Latham Avenue.
Motion for 2018-3225. What happens when you haven't done this? Thank you. So, motion to open the public hearing on 2018-3.
Give us a microphone, please. Can't hear you.
Any member from the public that would like to speak with regard to 2018-3225? Seeing none, we close the public hearing on 2018-3225. Adopt.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt ordinance 2018-3225 on second and final hearing. Our next ordinance for public hearing, we have 2018-3226, an ordinance authorizing enforcement of traffic regulations upon the private or semi-public roadways and parking areas upon Block 615, Lot 94 at 1287 Highway 35.
Motion to open public comment on 2018-3226. Anyone from the public looking to be heard on 2018-3226? Seeing none, motion to adopt. Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt this ordinance on second and final reading. At this time, we have ordinance 2018-3227, a bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $5,209,500 for various capital improvements by and for the Township of Middletown and the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $4,070,275 in bonds or notes of the Township for financing part of the appropriation.
Anyone look to be heard on ordinance 2018-3227? Seeing none, motion to close the public and adopt.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on second and final reading. Our next ordinance for public hearing, 2018-3228, a bond ordinance reappropriating $358,352.71, proceeds of obligations not needed for their original purposes for the acquisition of various improvements by the Township of Middletown, New Jersey.
Thank you. Anyone from the public looking to be heard on 2018-3228? Seeing none, the motion to close and to adopt, please.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on second and final reading. Our next ordinance for public hearing, 2018-3229, a bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $400,000 for the acquisition of property located at 480 State Highway 36 by and for the Township of Middletown in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $380,000 in bonds or notes of the Township for financing part of the appropriation.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to be heard on 2018-3229? Seeing none, close the public and motion to adopt, please.
Second. Sorry.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Heidel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt this ordinance on second and final reading. Our next ordinance for public hearing, we have ordinance 2018-3230, a bond ordinance amending bond ordinance number 2015-3141, finally adopted by the Township Committee of the Township of Middletown, New Jersey on June 15, 2015.
Anyone looking to be heard on 2018-3230? Seeing none, close the public and motion to adopt, please.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Hybel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell.
Yes.
Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on second and final reading. Our final ordinance for public hearing 2018-3231, bond ordinance amending bond ordinance number 2018-3219, finally adopted by the Township Committee of the Township of Middletown, New Jersey, on April 16, 2018.
So we're looking to be heard on 2018-3231. No. Just when you get to the mic, please, just your name and address, please.
There to stop the River Plaza, Middletown. Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to all of you.
I think you got to turn it on. Let's get the IT guy in.
You just gotta get this done.
This has nothing to do with the government, but it is a Murphy Law problem.
We just got this microphone system.
You tried turning it off and turning it back on again? Should I go up there and see if I can?
Mayor,
There you go.
the Middletown, congratulations to all of you who took an oath this evening. I know some of you quite well for these public meetings and private sessions infrequently, and you have served us well in the past, and I anticipate you serving us well in the future. I have a question that would stem from agenda item 15. But also go back to agenda item 9, and it's an inclusive question, 9 through 15.
Leo, this comment is specifically with regard to 2018-3231.
What is the amount of new notes, new bonding, and what's the debt service?
2018-3231, there is no debt being authorized. It's amending a prior ordinance that had authorized debt. This is just amending what's called Section 20 costs of the ordinance. It's increasing that amount, which has to be stated separately in the ordinance.
So there will be nothing showing up in the supplemental debt service statement?
No, not for this ordinance.
What about the previous 9 agenda items? Last question.
For any new bond ordinances, yes, there is a supplemental debt that is filed.
Do you have that here now?
No.
Can I get it to over tomorrow? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Leo. Anyone else looking to be heard on 2018-3231? Seeing none, motion to close and adopt. Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Hybel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Yes. Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on second and final reading. Our next item on tonight's agenda, we have introduction of proposed ordinance 2018-3232, ordinance adopting Circus Liquors Redevelopment Plan for the delineated area of Block 825, lots 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69.01, 70, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, and 81, and Block 870, lots 1 and 2.
Before we vote on this ordinance this evening, we do have a presentation tonight to go through the proposed redevelopment plan. Tony, can you introduce the meeting?
Yes, just for everyone's information, speaking to actually Frank Minor. Frank was retained by the township to do a redevelopment investigation for the property in but we don't know where it is. So Frank's going to run through a presentation before you take any action.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. Congratulations. Thank you for having me. My name is Francis Reiner. I'm a professional planner in the state of New Jersey, a partner of DMR Architects. And this evening I'm here to give you an overview of what's going to be introduced for the first reading of the Circus Liquors. For anybody in the public, I'm going to be speaking to this, so if you can't see, I would appreciate it if you can move over. That's the only way that I can really give this presentation. So, as indicated, these properties were previously designated as an area of redevelopment without condemnation. It's important to always note that when you go through the redevelopment process, that is consistent with both the state and the local plans. And so this redevelopment plan identifies those consistencies within it that are for the previous plans by the township as well as the state. The redevelopment plan, in all essence, represents new zoning. And so this is a three-step process, and it's important because it allows the public multiple opportunities to come up and speak on what's being proposed through this process. So the first step, as I indicated, was the investigation study that was adopted. This is actually the first step of the redevelopment plan, and I do at the end of this presentation have kind of a process, next steps moving forward. But this would be the second phase of that process, and what that means is that we're going to present the redevelopment plan in front of the planning board, which will allow members of the public to come up and speak on that proposed plan, and then during the adoption process, which will be back in front of the mayor and council. It's also important to note that even after that process, if it is adopted, that a developer would have to come through both the mayor and council and the planning board to present a site plan application, and that site plan application would also be able to have members of the public comment on that. So this is an iterative process that allows the public multiple opportunities to be involved. I'm going to give you, as I said, a quick overview. The area that we're identified, as you can see in the map on the right, there are two distinct areas. There is a commercial tract and there is a residential tract identified in the blue and the yellow. Within the commercial tract, there are two distinct areas, one called the core district and one called the north retail district. It's important as we develop this redevelopment plan that the requirements, both uses, bulk standards, are identified in the document based on the location of these particular areas. For the residential district, you can see that it is also broken into two sections, the multifamily and the townhouse district. So, as I said, the redevelopment plan has the requirements, land use, and bulk standards that are all identified based on these particular areas. As I mentioned, this is new zoning, and these are some images of what the zoning would require in terms of the development. As I mentioned, this is not a site plan application, this is simply zoning, but the redevelopment law really allows you a much greater control over typical zoning. So what you have in what would be a PD zone only limits you to a certain amount of requirements being placed on an application, a site plan application. The redevelopment law allows you to go far greater than any particular zoning, and what that means is that you can actually place on the developer or the development requirements that are for materials, for the look and feel of the buildings. So although it's zoning, it really takes a much greater in-depth look at what is being proposed and what is being permitted. And so within this document, we have design standards for both neighborhoods, from an architectural standpoint, both for the commercial and the residential, from a landscape architectural standpoint, which requires certain types of landscape, certain types of buffers, setbacks, whatnot, that would be much greater than what you typically find in a zoning, in just a normal zoning. It also has requirements for sustainable design. It has requirements for use and bulk. In addition, because you're going through the redevelopment process, when you get to the point of a developer, you have the ability to have a redeveloper's agreement, which will further require performance standards that can be placed into that document. Again, much higher level than what typical zoning would permit under a normal zoning ordinance. I know there's a lot of history on this property, and most of it predates me, so I'm going to be brief with this, but I think it was important just to note that this particular property in 1994, and I'm not going to read all these, but this is kind of a little bit of the history. The 1994 Towne Centre plan had approximately 1.7 million square foot of commercial space that was permitted. It had 400 market rate units and 25 affordable units. Through a series of legal battles that went back and forth, there was a 2009 settlement which reduced the square footage for the commercial to 610,000 square foot, 424 units and 80 affordable units. The proposed plan that we have here today is proposing a maximum of 400,000 square foot of commercial space, a maximum of 320 units of market rate, and a maximum of 80 units of affordable. So I think it's important to note the history to see how far you've come in terms of the actual proposed uses on this particular property, as well as the density of that. We do identify in the plan a site plan application, or a site plan, but again, there will be a site plan application that comes in front of the planning board. So although this is conceptually what is permitted, it does not necessarily represent the exact design of what a site plan application would require. But essentially what you can see is Route 35 on the bottom. On your left is a realigned Kings Highway, and on the right is a realigned Kings Lane. And so you have a large retail on the right, and then you have what would be more of a attached retail center located in the middle, with a couple of what we would call pad sites located within the overall development. Rather than going through all the specific details, we want to show you some images of what is represented in the requirements of the plan. And so this is an image shown from Route 35 looking into the main entrance. You can see that there is a landscape setback from what is the retail center. There are requirements, as I mentioned, for landscape. So this is not going to be a sea of parking and asphalt. There are requirements within every 250 feet. You have to have a separation of landscape. There are tree requirements in terms of size. So what we're really trying to do is ensure a high-quality commercial center. This is just the commercial tract I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about the residential tract in a minute. So these are all images from the commercial tract. Again, you can see this is the kind of the main attached retail. You can see a large pedestrian plaza located out front. You can start to see some of the architecture within the document. It talks about how the architecture has to be articulated so that it's not a flat facade, varying heights. So again, looking at interest from a pedestrian level, even with the architecture. Picture across, what would be looking across from Route 35. In front of you, you see what would be a stormwater management system, which is a requirement as part of the plan. And then some architectural drawings and elevations of what some of the buildings may look like. Again, because this is zoning, there are no particular end users right now. It's really just intended to show that there is a variety of architecture. It shows the style of architecture, kind of the coloration, which is an earth tone type of color. But you can see that this is far greater than what would typically be called a strip center type of retail. Again, some more elevation variations. You can see not only do buildings vary in height, but they also vary in depth. So it gives the facade a much more pedestrian-friendly environment. Some other photos of those architectural drawings. Again, you can see the varying materials that are being used here, which are natural stone. There is the ability to do EFIS. In the commercial district, vinyl is not permitted. And then some additional ones to go through. So you can, this is the large plaza area out in front, which is part of the overall design, and then another shot of that. So that really represents what the commercial track would look like. And again, the specific requirements of these are identified in the report, which will be, I believe, made public after tonight, and allow the public the opportunity to kind of go through them and determine any feedback that they have on those. In regards to the residential tract, as I mentioned, there are two kind of distinct areas within the residential tract. There is the townhouse district, which is the lighter color units, and then there's the multifamily. The multifamily are the three buildings located closest to Kings Highway East. And so you can see one of the rendered elevations of what those particular townhouses would look like. There are requirements for the townhouses in terms of materials on those. So we really try to make sure that the architecture is of high quality and spent a considerable amount of time going through exactly how those can be designed so that it is not a monotonous townhouse repeated multiple times. It's really intended to have varying facades within the different buildings located in the residential tract. As I mentioned, this is the process that we are in right now is the redevelopment plan. It's my understanding that tonight would be the first reading, and so the document then become public for public review, and so that will be available. We have it digitally. We'll provide it to the township digitally. We might also have some hard copies for the record. And then at some point in the near future, we'll give a presentation to the planning board. During that presentation, the public will have the ability to question after they've reviewed the document, to ask questions about the specific requirements within the document, and then it would come back to mayor and council. And as I mentioned, that would then include the redevelopment plan process. The process after that would then be a site plan application, again, which the public would have the opportunity to review those site plan applications, make comments during the planning board at that time. So with that, I believe I've kind of hit the highlights for you, and I'm happy to answer the question.
I do have a question. First of all, I want to thank you for a great presentation and your work on the study. The question I have is just, one for education purposes. I know the answer to it, but just for public's, edification. Generally, we have had many planning boards, just straight planning applications without going through redevelopment. The township looking at a business zone like Highway 35 in terms of redevelopment. Doing a redevelopment study like you did here gives the township the ability to put in to our ordinance some of those specific criterias where we would not have that potential flexibility in terms of a developer just coming before the planning board and saying, hey, we want this to develop this way. And while we do have some architectural review controls, this gives us more of an ability to shape the architecture, to shape what we can permit within that zone, and gives a lot more control and oversight into the process than just a straight general development plan. Is that
Absolutely. You could be a planner. No, yes.
Spend a little time on the planning board.
Absolutely correct. Again, the redevelopment plan process really allows you to go far beyond what typical zoning is in terms of the requirements that are placed on a developer and on a site. Typically, you don't have the level of design requirements that we've placed into this, not only from an architectural standpoint, but from a landscape architecture standpoint, from a sustainable standpoint, stormwater management standpoint. So we really placed a great deal of emphasis on those particular aspects of this plan to ensure the highest quality development that we can under for the township.
And then just as a follow-up, just because we put these criteria and zoning into place there still is a planning board, I used to, you said it multiple times, there still is a planning board process, they still have to meet the criteria of everything on a site plan application approval, so that the process of public input and information actually enhances.
Yes, so instead of a normal one process where you just have the public providing comment at a site plan application, the public will be able to provide comment at the redevelopment plan presentation and at the site plan application process. So they'll have multiple shots at providing comments, whereas under a typical application, you will really only have one opportunity. So the public has multiple opportunities with this process.
So that's important to understand, is that this process gives the general public at least 2 times to comment on the application, one at the governing body and one at the planning board. So it actually creates more public comment scenarios so that we can better shape the project for the public. Anyone else have any questions?
Mayor, I just have one question, and nudging the council actually. Obviously there are enhanced benefits to landscape architecture, things of that nature, that requirements that we can put into, or that you've presented to us. What are the ramifications that exist if there is a violation? Obviously, many people have concerns that, they never want the parking lot to look, all chopped up. They want landscape to be able to divide it from the highway, things of that nature. So what is the town's, what's the town's process if we do find that is a violation?
Sure, I can answer that. Committee member. Just to introduce myself, I'm Michael Collins with our Attorney Reiner. I'm joined here by Kira Dabby, my colleague. Unfortunately, Mr. Nelson had an emergency tonight, so he is unable to attend. Glad to answer your question. Following the redevelopment process, if you have a redeveloper and the plan goes forward, we would then enter into a redevelopment agreement. And that is basically a contractual agreement between the municipality and the developer. And that provides you, similar to what Fran was saying earlier, further ability to enforce the terms of what is in the redevelopment plan, which is the overlay zoning, as well as other requirements that are contained in that agreement. And as I said, it serves as a contract, so the township has remedies if the developer is not following the terms of the redevelopment agreement. So it provides you with much more leverage than the typical zoning case.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we will look for a motion for 2018-3232 to introduce.
So moved. You don't get to speak on a proposed introduction, an introduced ordinance.
We need a second on the motion.
Public hearing is at the
If you'd like, I'd be glad to clarify. So this is an ordinance introduction. As mentioned by Mr. Reiner earlier, the procedure going forward, this matter will have to be referred to the planning board if it is to move forward. At that point, there will be a hearing for master plan conformance, and the public will have an opportunity to speak at that point on the specific plan. Further, beyond that, there will be a public hearing on the ordinance as introduced tonight. That will be another opportunity for the public to provide public comment, and then only after those 2 public comment opportunities could the governing body move forward with the adoption of this ordinance at a later date.
Thank you, Michael. Here's what I'll add to that. So if you have any comments, you certainly can state them in the public comment section of tonight's meeting. There's no restriction with regard to that. We just can't have Mr. Reiner cross-examine at the moment like the planning board meeting, but certainly welcome for public comments at that time.
have 3 appointed members voting.
Wait. I just wanted to let you know, just to inform you what the process is with regard to anything that you'd like to say with regard to this presentation. We're more than happy to listen at that time. At this time, we have a motion with regard to the introduction of the ordinance of 2018-3232, and public comments can be heard at the township comment time. So I think with that, I'll go ahead and entertain that motion, please, to adopt.
We can't ask any questions before you vote tonight?
Listen.
I know, before the introduction, we can't ask you questions, not the planner, but you, we can't
Well, ma'am, here's the,
Allowed?
there are two times that ordinances are brought up on the agenda. One is for introduction, in which time there's no specific public comment on the introduction. The second time is for adoption. At that time, there's permitted public comments for adoption. What happens is between now and the adoption time, the redevelopment plan is made public. You can review the plan. We would encourage you to review the plan. And at the time that it's scheduled for adoption, we would encourage that you come at that time, specific to this process, and give us back your comments. Regardless, you can comment on anything at the end of this meeting during the public sector comments, and if those comments have to do with today's presentation, you're certainly welcome to do it at that time, just not at this specific time on the agenda, that's all.
And Mayor, if I could just clarify, a vote for introduction does not make the ordinance pass. So at the second reading, the public comment period, then the committee votes a yes or no. So today just moves it to get you to the public portion of an introduced ordinance. That's with any ordinance, not just this ordinance. It's just procedural.
So we have a motion on the floor to introduce.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Hybel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell.
Yes.
Mayor Sedamino.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held August 20th, 2018. Our next item on tonight's agenda is consent agenda. Our first item, we have a presentation by the CFO as to the award of financial notes.
We had a note sale recently. We had a sale for a note issuing $3,650,000 in principal. We went out for bids on that. The winning bid had an interest rate of 2.75%. It's a year-long note. The purchaser was Jeffries. The purchase price received was $3,674,676, which means that we had a premium paid to us on that, which then brings down the interest rate, because that premium is used to pay some interest on the next year. It was closed on June 27th, 2018, and it will mature next year on June 26th, 2018.
At this time, I'd like to ask the Township Committee to adopt the consent agenda, which would include resolutions 18 through 185, 18-185, and 18-198, including legal and raffle applications, and then 18-191, 18-192, and 18-193.
Motion to adopt consent agenda, please.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Hybel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Yes. Mayor Sedamino.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt the consent agenda. At this time, we have the Township Committee acting as the agency issuing authority. We have two resolutions for adoption. At this time, I'd like to ask the Township Committee to adopt resolutions 18-189 and 18-190.
Motion to adopt 18-189 and 190, please.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Hybel.
Yes.
Committeeman Perry.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Yes. Mayor Sedamino.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt these two resolutions. At this time, we have Township Committee comments.
Thank you. Committeewoman Snell, please.
Hi, everyone. Some of you I know, some of you I don't. First, I'd like to thank the members of the Township Committee for letting me sit on this committee. It means a lot to me. I've lived in Middletown for 35 years, and I very much look forward to serving with a really awesome team. I want to thank you for that, and I also want to thank my family out here who you've seen. My husband, Bill, has been in Middletown. He was born and raised here. And my two daughters have chosen to raise their families here also. And they are all going through the school system, and I'm very proud of them all. I had my other daughter come in. I didn't know she was coming today, but she was right here. So appreciate it. As I said, I've lived in Navastate for 35 years, been in real estate for 24. Recently served on the planning board and enjoyed that position. I guess my thing I'm going to tell you tonight is my vision for Middletown is much the same as your vision. It's become the very best and safest place to live, and I hope to help the committee continue that road to make it even better. So I thank you, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Committee Man Perry.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be real brief. I know members of the public want to get up here. First, I just want to welcome Committee Snell. Welcome to the committee. Glad to have you with us. Just a few things. I'm not sure if Chief Weber is still here. I think he left. But I just want to compliment him. A few years back, he brought back the Police Youth Week, which I attended the graduation of for 63. Very impressive young, there's the chief. Very impressive young men and women who did a 5-day course, a very tough course. I was very impressed by all of them. So the response was so great from the community that we're having another one in August, and for $35 for the whole week. You can't beat that for your kids to go and really get a unique experience from our police department. So thank you to the chief, thank you Lieutenant Bailey, and Officer Cruz, our new community officer, community liaison. I want to thank them all for putting that together. Second, we have we did have 4 of our fire chiefs here tonight. I just want to welcome all of them, thank you. And I want to thank them and former Chief Citarella for the River Plaza Fire Company's event that they had a few weeks back, honoring 6 50-plus-year members of the fire department. So it was a real honor to present all of them with the key to the city, and it's an even greater honor because most of that, never before, I think, has the key to the city been given anywhere but right here in Town Hall, and we did it in the River Plaza Fire Department. So I just want to congratulate them and thank the chiefs for putting all that together. So thank you, chiefs. Lastly, I just want to welcome Code Business to Middletown. New business in Union Square, right on 35, teaching kids how to code and really teach them how to build programs. And it has a unique karate theme to it. So I just want to congratulate them and thank them for inviting me to their grand opening. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunt.
Yes, thank you. I will keep it brief because Mr. Perry asked my stuff. Welcome back. So, look forward to serving with you. Congratulations to Kevin. Tony there. I attended some events. It was a busy month. We also had EMS cadets. They received awards for their year of service. Myself and the mayor came by. Parents here very proud of them to see the young kids get involved, and almost all of them said they want to continue being involved after they complete school or college in the EMS field. I also wanted I attended a wet down this weekend for the fire department. We received a piece some time ago that was going to assist us with the standing structures in Fort Monmouth. That was a great addition to the fire department, so that was a good event. And that's all I have. I got everything else.
Thank you, Committee. Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things this evening. First, I echo the sentiments of my colleagues and welcome Pat to the Township Committee. We are very fortunate as a Township Committee to have such great people who are always willing to serve the community in a number of different community boards and aspects, and Pat is a tremendous example of that. I also would like to thank the others who put their names forward through the process. It's a little bit of an interesting time in the process. You very rarely have to do this once, let alone twice, or maybe 3 times. And, you know, that just goes to say we have a committee that's had quite a long tenure. I guess that certainly can happen. But we're very fortunate to have 3 candidates who put themselves up again this year, this time of high quality and stature, and very pleased that Pat accepted the position here to join us on the committee. I wish you all the best in serving. I also want to congratulate my colleague, Mr. Severino, now serving the remainder of 2018 as mayor. As somebody who has served in that seat for 2 terms, I know that it is quite a different seat from the one you sat in about a month ago. And I think you're now experiencing that, but I know you will do a tremendous job in leading this committee in this township into even greater things in 2018. So congratulations, Kevin. And I also would like to thank my committee members for, once again, giving the trust in me to serve as the deputy mayor under Mayor Severino for the remainder of 2018. A few other quick just things here for me. I did also attend, and I appreciate I see some of the fire department leadership here, a tremendous job that they do on a daily basis. I had the good fortune of attending the event in Fort Monmouth, and that piece that Mr. Heibel, Committeeman Heibel, speaks about was something that came in terms of looking as the Township Committee and the leadership of the fire department in our working together and in our partnership. That's a piece that was vitally necessary after Superstorm Sandy. As many of you who may not, or many of you do know, who've been to Fort Monmouth or Bay Shore over the last, say, year or 2, and if you haven't, I would really tell you to go take a look down there at the way that we have redeveloped the area post-Sandy to be more storm resilient. And being more storm resilient means being a lot higher off the ground. And unfortunately, while builders can make buildings higher, they do not make streets wider. So that equipment is vitally necessary. That truck, is it 161? Did I get that right? It will be a vital piece to community safety of this Fort Monmouth and all of the Bay Shore community. 160? Okay,
167.
160. I was close. There were so many trucks there that you was counting. But it will be a vital piece. So thank you for your leadership in putting that idea into this committee several years ago. And then finally, just one thing from an administrative part. I will ask the committee, as many of you know, or maybe you don't, we have not been able to even calculate the tax rate yet to send out tax bills because we are waiting for the state to certify our rate, which I believe may happen tomorrow or sometime soon. But a big part of that has been the holdup in terms of school funding and financing. And for anyone that reads the newspapers or sees it on any other venue, you will see that Middletown, once again, like several other suburban communities, has been, funding has been taken away. Funding that comes from you and I, that comes from your taxes, both state, property, and otherwise, has been once again taken from the suburban community, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think up to $5 million, if I'm not mistaken, or $5.5 million taken from Middletown students to send to other districts that some I know are receiving $37 million more. And I would like this committee to consider a resolution in opposition of this funding change of school funding that we can send, and I'm sure there are other towns in the 13th legislative district. I know that Ondell is affected, I know other Monmouth County communities and the surrounding areas are affected, and I'd like to see a resolution in opposition. I would also greatly stress that the Board of Education in Middletown do the same, because these types of spending cuts will not only raise taxes, but they hurt the quality of education for students. And as a father and a parent of 2 public school students in the district, I think it's just ridiculous. It continues to come down the track. So I'll ask the committee to entertain that resolution if you're so inclined, and I can have the township attorney draft that solution. With that, Mayor, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I didn't realize how difficult it is to speak last, so I do need to make certain, I don't want to take anyone's time this evening. I know the public is here, so we're anxious to hear you, what your questions are for this evening, so I'll just make it brief. The one thing that I did attend a few weeks ago was Dr. Thompson at the Belford Energy Company provided and donated medical kits to all the fire departments throughout town, and that is fantastic that the fire department is now continues to be equipped through donations from the town to ensure that there is more life-saving devices on each one of these trucks and they can get to you faster. So we want to thank Dr. Thompson with regard to that, and Chief for accepting that. The other items, I did have the pleasure of attending a new building dedication at the Coast Guard Academy about a week ago. The Coast Guard has dedicated a new $54 million facility to better protect and serve this region. So I know it's not an area that people tour often, and I'm not encouraging that you do, but you'll find that there's a brand new facility there, probably about 2 years in the making, that is a recovery building from Superstorm Sandy, so I was lucky enough to attend that. Also, one thing that I did not hear from members of my committee, although I know that Committeeman Perry and Deputy Mayor Fury were in attendance, and if anyone was a little late this evening, we'll give you another minute or two because we did, the county did energize a new traffic light at Kings Highway and Church. And Freeholder Sharpenberger did flip the switch on that. Luckily, the first light was green, so we appreciate that. But that was fully funded by the county, and it's another effort for the Township of Middletown and the County of Monmouth to work together to enhance the safety of the Township of Middletown and of the county. And before I conclude, I do want to congratulate the new committeewoman, Pat. It is fantastic to have you here on the committee. Welcome. We look forward to working with you. And we're glad we can now get back to a full contingent of a 5-member township committee, and we're looking for great things together. So welcome aboard. You're welcome. And I also would like to congratulate my colleague, Deputy Mayor Fury, for another 25 months Deputy Mayor. We appreciate Tony's leadership and his insight, and it's a great job you did as Deputy Mayor. Thank you very much. With that, that is all I have this evening. What I'd like to do is open up to public comments, and before I do, just a couple of guidelines. We're going to do this in orderly fashion, one by one. You're permitted to speak about anything that you so choose. You do need, when you come up to the microphone, you do need to provide your name and address, please. And please limit your comments to 5 minutes so that we can be fair to everyone here and hear as many comments as we can. So with that, do we have any public comments? See, I need to put my glasses. There's someone in the back?
Hi.
Sorry, I have someone in the hand, but go ahead. Please.
I'm Liz Pomeroy at 20 Burlington Avenue, and I wrote my comments down, and I timed them, so it's under 5 minutes.
Sure.
Then I have a few comments, and then a question at the end. I want to applaud your major resiliency initiative by joining the BPU's microgrid competition, which will provide electricity to the Navy Pier, the municipal complex, 3 schools, and other facilities deemed vital. It's a great move. Comments from the public are due by September. You can email them in at microgrid@middletown.org. Homes near the buildings that will still have service when the next big storm comes through will probably increase in value. Because some of the areas of town are outside the microgrid service area, I want the committee to support 2 bills. They're simultaneously being presented before Assembly and the Senate. It's A1902 and S1611. It's the Property Assessed Clean Energy PACE. That gives all buildings in town an instrument to provide off-grid energy improvements to the property. through a voluntary special assessment lien program. Another important resiliency action that you could do is to insist on sidewalks wide enough for pedestrians and cyclists to navigate the entire Kings Highway Route 35 intersection. During the next big storm, some people might be forced to walk or bike due to various reasons, and along with building a microgrid, building a safe passage from one side of town to the other is equally important and much less of an expensive burden on our tax base. This bicycle and pedestrian-friendly intersection would be stress-free for people to go from one side of town to the other, and it would be a linchpin in a community-wide network. Just as the microgrid links vital buildings to electricity for a future that is resilient to storm after storm, so too would a complete street model designed for this new road system make our community stronger, going forward, healthier, and more resilient. So those were my comments, and my question is what did the DOT say about creating a pedestrian and bike-friendly intersection at the Route 35 Kings Highway reconfiguration of the intersection?
So unless the administrator wants to comment on that, we want to make sure that that those comments are not specific to the application.
You know, we haven't had that meeting yet.
Thank you.
Anyone else will leave me here? Gentleman all the way in the back, please. I'm sorry. Man, there you go. You were hiding from it. And I wasn't wearing my glasses now. I was wearing my glasses now.
My name is Emily Wiggin. I live at 42 Hosford Avenue.
Thank you.
And I have a serious water issue. I've been dealing with Ted Maloney, and I would like it to be known, and I would like to have something done. It's 3 years now that I've been dealing with Ted. They were going to do something last year. They didn't do anything. They're possibly going to do something this year. It's an attorney review. I don't know what attorney review means. I need my garden back. My garden, I love my garden, and I can't use any of it.
Take a couple minutes to comment on that,
Well,
please.
I think the committee or some of the members of the committee might not be familiar with this. There's a drainage issue in the rear yards along some properties on Hosford Avenue, Bryan Avenue, and another block bounded by that. We know the residents, Tony and I know the residents, some of the residents last year and earlier this year. There's several components now that we're looking at. One is an easement that has to be obtained from some of the residents, including these Wiggins here. And Brian Nelson, our attorney, is looking at that right now. The other component is we have to get some survey work done in that area. So we can put some, do some drainage improvements on the lower end of that property. And then see if we can phase it in. It might be more than 1 year. We're looking to get it as part of this upcoming capital. So it's underway. As I told you on the phone, in the email, we are working on still, but the survey work has to get done. Unfortunately, your property has another separate component of the drainage problem. There's more code enforcement issue that we have to look at separately. But we are working on it. These things do take time.
I understand. Have you talked to Bill Fine about the code enforcement issue?
I had both times away actually this week, but I will talk to him. I know he was the officer working on that. So I'll need to get back to that.
I just wanted it to be done because I'm sitting in the swamp. I have cattails growing back there. It stinks to high heaven. I brought in water, I brought in weeds. What's to do?
Be careful what I say.
I'm a gardener.
As I've been back, I know there's a problem, and we are working on it. We should talk sometimes a week. We will.
Trying to get myself known here so that I can get some issues.
Thank you. Thank you. Sir?
Even though 18 Tame Drive, I'll try to be brief. I don't like in Middletown, but I grew up in the original home of the town meeting. month, I actually voted and have 90 votes. It's long town. This is not. I think we're approaching what has been and will be the most significant development in Middletown now and in the future. And I'm troubled less by the development itself than by the process that we're using to determine the development. I have a few questions that I'd like to ask individual members. This is a town of many communities, many viewpoints. My concern is that we're about to commit to extensive development with the town committee where 3 of the 5 members have never been elected. In fact, they have been appointed one by one by the other members of the town committee. I'm a little nervous because this town's complication. I mean it to be fair. So, to me, this is inconsistent with representative democracy. It's inconsistent with representatives of people. So my first question is for Towne Centre. Do you agree with that?
Sir, the questions have to come here to me.
Okay.
So if
Mayor, secretary, my first question is...
Sir, hold on a second. If you have a question, what I'd like to do, if any of the committee members want to answer that question, I'd be happy to do that. But what I can't have here is individual viewpoints on what we presented today. I want to make sure that we don't run afoul of the ordinance, the introduction ordinance, and then final reading of that ordinance. So we'd be happy to answer your questions within the 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So, do any of the members want to answer the yes or no, or they think this is consistent with representative democracy?
Here's what I'll tell you. What I'll do is with regard to that process, and it's the only way it can be answered. With regard to that process, council can note, certainly either one of council can note that we follow the statutory procedures with regard to filling that process, and that was our only option. There are no other options for us to follow.
And the mayor is correct on that. The state law is very clear, and the Township Committee had an obligation to act after names were put forward, or else then the municipal partisan committee has the right to move ahead. And I would also note the way the state statute is structured is in order to create continuity of government. So what you've seen here is, as vacancies have risen, it's allowed to have a full membership of a governing body, and in the absence of that, bills aren't going to get paid. You're going to have issues. And so state law works in this instance.
Fair enough. I hope all of these comments don't have to get that 5 minutes, but I'll wrap up. Would any of the non-elected committeemen be willing to step down so that the committee could appoint a member of a minority party?
You can't do that under the statutes, sir. It's not legal to do. It's not legal to do. I think council just explained to you the only legal process that we have at our disposal. That's what we've executed. There's no variance from that. So when you ask questions with regard to a variance from that statutory requirements, there's nothing to do with breaking the law.
The statutory requirement is that the Republican town executive committee puts forward 3 names.
Republicans were the Republican office holder, as Mr. Collins will tell you, vacates the seat. It's very clear in the statute. Mr. Collins, please.
Yeah, no, that's correct, Deputy Mayor. Since the previous office holder, in the case of the vacancy filled tonight, Ms. Murray was elected as a Republican nominee, so the Republican County Committee of the municipality has the power to put forward 3 names, and then the governing body here had the obligations to follow through on the selection of those 3 names.
Okay, fair enough. My final comment is that all the time I've been attending meetings, I have not seen a single adverse vote on the town committee. I don't think you're representing all of the viewpoints in your town. That's simple.
Thank you, sir. Sir?
Stephen Michalova, 304 Florence Road. I'm forced to come here tonight because of what has become an intolerable situation
regarding intrusive security cameras on the part of my neighbor. He's using this as one of many means to just constantly harass my wife and I. This process, this actually started back in May of last year. I spoke to one of the former committee men about this, so I thought was going to set the wheels in motion on this. I don't know what has happened. I've called the police have come, they responded, they spoke with the neighbor. Unfortunately, there was no ordinance to prohibit this. There's nothing they can do. I came home tonight, and again, we have cameras running directly at my house for no reason other than, I have nothing to hide, but it's, you know, big brother watching. I hastily took some pictures, which I printed, which I can offer to the committee to see if they want to. Okay, but could you just repeat the address again? 304 Florence Road. Several things this neighbor is doing. They say they want to make us move. They've been there for, I don't know how many years. We've been there since 2003. Okay, I don't know what their problem is other than they fight with everybody. Okay, this is one of many issues. But right now, there's no ordinance prohibiting, and I don't know if anybody else has a situation like this here, but you know, we're constantly being watched, spied on, and there's nothing that the police can do because there's no means or vehicle to prohibit this.
Sir, I want to ask our administrator to comment on that, to see if there's any further assistance.
Yeah, we're aware of the situation. This is not the first one. It's actually at least the third situation we've had where neighbors point cameras at their next door neighbor. And there's nothing the township ordinance could do about it. Take a state law to prohibit something like that, and I just don't know how you would actually do that.
Well,
There's really there's no prohibition against pointing a camera somewhere. I would say, so police can't do anything about it unless it's literally threatening you and they're aware of it. There's nothing else they can do. What I would suggest you do is file your own complaint to the municipal court. It could be that the judge has the ability to require mediation, and he may be able to get the parties together to settle this. He may have some ability to make a determination that it's somehow a form of harassment. But there's no clear law that says they can't do that. So it's unfortunate, but like I said, you're not the first one to be in this situation. That happened a few times before.
We have the same issue with drones.
I understand. I have heard, though, that other towns have ordinances prohibiting angle or just controlling the angle distance those cameras will point at.
I doubt it. I doubt they do it enforcement.
Along with that, this same neighbor has, they have this hedge and fence that they've let overgrown, which in the past I have trimmed as I'm allowed to on my side. It's totally overgrown. Under the threat of being yelled and cursed at, threatened to call the police, etc. I have been in contact in several conversations with the zoning officer. I understand a letter has been sent over there. There's still no action. I don't want to touch this. There's a totally overgrown fence, which again, I have pictures of.
This is actually with regard to property maintenance, right?
This is property maintenance issue. They refuse to maintain it. I have spent countless hours, okay, trimming it on my side, and at the same time getting yelled and screamed at, cursed at, threatened. I don't want to touch this fence because it's totally overgrown fence that's ready to collapse. I don't want to touch that fence because he's already accused me of damaging this fence.
Our property maintenance is something that we have the ability to enforce. And
I'm working with zoning, but so far I don't see any resolution.
Overgrown hedges are only something we can really regulate if they're interfering with traffic, site visibility. If there's a dilapidated fence, that we can address. If the hedges is pushing the fence over or damaging it, we can deal with that as a property maintenance issue. But just an overgrown hedge is only, we can only enforce anything on that if it's actually impacting site distances on the road, something like that.
No, that's not the case.
We'll check it.
Okay.
The fence is in bad shape, we can address that.
That'll be able to address.
Yeah.
There's another issue this neighbor had, and I don't know who on this committee is aware of the fact that there's an ordinance that prohibits parking of boats, motorhomes, travel trailers, either in the front yard or within 10 foot of the property line. Since I've lived there, I park my boat on the off-season on my property line on a paved driveway, which is approximately 1 foot from the property line. It was never a problem until last November when I got a violation notice. forcing me to move the boat to the backyard where snow, branches, and everything else. Now, I would offer you to drive around within a half a mile of my house, see similar situations, boats and trailers in the front yard, and it's not bothering anyone. I appear to be the only one in town because of my neighbor that this is being enforced against. So I would like to see this ordinance needs to be amended. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of unhappy residents. I'm not looking for this to be, this to be imposed upon other people, because apparently none of their neighbors have a problem with this. Mine does, but this is just one of many ways to just constantly harass us with the intent of, as they say, making us move. I mean,
I hate to cut you off, we're just a little over the 5 minutes. What I would say is that, we're welcome to stay and chat with you afterwards, but I want to make sure you get some language from that. All right, sir?
Okay, same neighbor, one last thing.
No, I'm sorry, I just got to cut you off, we got to get to other people.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else look here? Yeah? Please, and your address.
Monica Manning, 36 Spruce Drive. First, I just want to say, when the township designated the site as a redevelopment project in December, the committee had a choice. We had conversations, and we really felt that you possibly could work with the community. At one point, it took a turn, and you decided, like the developer before you, not to work with the community to create the project that we were looking for and maybe to hear us. We were asking for charrettes, to hear the community's ideas and concerns prior to any planning. We understand there's public meetings after, but it was kind of important to be involved in the process because we were shown the Belford situation. We know you don't own the land, but still it wouldn't hurt to hear the community's ideas prior to the plan. We do understand developers are involved, okay, but we are your community. It's important that there's some connection between committee and community. We are not feeling it, and we haven't been feeling it for this committee. I was promised meetings to my face in this room, and they never happened.
Ma'am.
Yes, I'm not going to make a whole tire.
Oh, no, but here's what I have to tell you, and I know that you know this, that we can't really comment on this with regard to the pending lawsuit. You're certainly welcome to speak, but you won't be, council is going to advise us that we're not able to respond to your comments with regard to your lawsuit. Now, furthermore, the governing body and the township administrator was well willing to have copious meetings with the community, but for the beginning of your lawsuit. So that's really, it's you alone that's really kind of constricted the governing body to have those open meetings, so we can get more input from the public. So essentially, it's your lawsuit that's really restricted the ability for us to do that. That's unfortunate. If that suit were to go away, we'd be happy to have more. We'd have some community meetings outside of that process so that we can gather as much input as possible. Unfortunately, your suit has restricted that, and council's going to advise us that we can't respond back to you.
I don't believe that at all.
It's not, ma'am, it's not a matter of what you believe. It is a matter of what the law permits us to do. Now, as I said, your lawsuit has restricted this governing body from allowing the general public more input, very specifically more input for this project. So, so you have to understand, I want the general public to understand, that but for that suit, we could potentially have meetings and invite the public other than the statutory public session input. So you can certainly speak the rest of your time, but there's nothing for us to respond to.
Interesting that you say that.
It's not interesting at all. It's the law. If you want to withdraw your lawsuit, we would be more than happy to expedite other community meetings in addition to the statutory requirements. It's your suit that's restricted. You always have a choice, ma'am. You always have a choice.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, so you made a choice not to remove them.
We did, because we weren't getting any real feedback.
But ma'am,
I'm sorry.
you all make choices.
You don't really know what's going on.
You all make choices. You made one, and unfortunately you restrict our ability to do that.
Recently, I requested a traffic study that was requested by myself and 2 others in a meeting with Mr. Mercantante over a year ago. And the reason it was requested was because the cut-through traffic, the Wegmans, and other intersections were not reviewed properly by Langen, the engineer for NRDC, the commercial developer for Village 35. The second traffic study has been completed for months, and I've seen the checks that paid for most of it. I have over this study and was denied the study. I was denied the study that my group requested. I was told it was incomplete, the data was not complete. I have documents that show that the checks were paid. The only thing that's left open is $1,800 for public meetings. Now that you have this presentation going on, I have the right to this traffic study. I would also like to know how many meetings are going to happen. I was also told that when it gets to the planning board stage, it's almost a done deal by yourself. So what I would like to know...
Don't quote things that I don't say. So I don't...
Okay. So what I would like to know is how many meetings you plan to have for site plan and how many meetings you plan to have for traffic.
So a few things. With regard to site plan and traffic, although I've been working on my clairvoyant skill, I haven't honed it up just yet. So those applications will take as long as they can for as many public input sessions as you need. So at the planning board and at the governing body, there will be a final introduction. At the planning board, there will be multiple times that you will have the ability, the general public will have the ability to cross-examine each one of the witnesses, most likely on a per witness basis. Okay, so it's not only once, like it is at the governing body, but it's multiple times per witness. Thank you. Per witness. So there are actually more times at the planning board that you can. Now I can't tell you how many times that is. That's what you're asking for. How many times? I don't know the answer to that. What I'm saying to you is there's more opportunities at the planning board to comment on a per witness basis, because that's when the application gets presented, than there are here. So I don't know how many. And that's what you're
Is it going to
asking.
be separate site plan meetings and separate traffic meetings?
There will be one application at the planning board, and that application will be presented by the applicant's attorney in the order that applicant's attorney deems that they want to present it. And it's up to the planning board and the planning board attorney, and they will permit members of the general public to cross-examine each one of those applicants. Now, with regard to that, I want you to try to wrap up because we're at the end of our 5 minutes. But again, we'd be happy to stay as long as you need if you have any further questions.
I do have some further questions.
Ken, our administrator talked about traffic study.
Just to clarify the traffic study, the reason it's not public yet is that actually this Township Committee and the prior Township Committee haven't seen it themselves and haven't had a presentation on the traffic study. So it isn't complete. We actually were at the meeting, somebody asked earlier about the meeting with the DOT. One of the things we want to do before we finalize that is meet with the DOT to discuss with them some of the suggestions that we're considering in traffic study, what are viable, what may not be viable. So until we know what the DOT is going to, how they're going to work with us, we can't finalize the study. So literally, the Township Committee has not seen that full study at this point. So it is still a draft.
Am I right to understand that you said August 20th was the first meeting, the first hearing?
That's the public hearing of on the redevelopment plan for this body, yes. There'll be also a hearing of the planning board, I believe, on August 1st.
Right, so when would we get the traffic study prior to the August 20th meeting?
You may not get it prior to the 20th meeting. There's going to be many meetings, as you know. It's not going to finish on August 20th. Depends on how quickly we can meet with the DOT. Hopefully it will happen before then, but we don't have that set.
And as noted in the presentation, there's a meeting before the planning board on the redevelopment plan, and there's also going to be separate site plan application meetings. So it's more than one meeting, even as we heard in the presentation tonight.
There will definitely be multiple meetings on the plan. But that's all the way out with regard to your 5 minutes, so I want to be fair to everyone else here. But again, we'll stay as long as you like after the meeting.
I do have one quick question for Brian, just about some of the comments he made.
Ma'am,
Yes.
you have to be fair to everyone. So it's 5 minutes, and I need to ask anyone else for their comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Monica.
19th Highway. You were stating about the meeting of the 20th, that's for a vote by this committee to approve the plan, move forward this plan, 1135, correct? No, I'm sorry, the ordinance, and does that designate then a redeveloper at that time?
No, it's an adoption of second reading of the ordinance.
A second reading, and so at what point is a ordinance actually voted on? And so you were saying, so the Township Committee is not going to be voting without all of the information, like the traffic study, before them, when they vote?
Right, because...
So they won't actually...
Traffic studies are planning board issues, not zoning
But
issues.
however, is it that's integral to this plan?
It's a zoning issue, it's not...
Okay.
It's not the same.
I would have made that clear. Under a PD plan, what kind of property taxes can be done under a PD plan designation? Can it be done as a pilot, payments in lieu of taxes?
It could be...
And does the public know about that beforehand?
Certainly they would know about it, and need to be.
Does the public know about it?
Yes, absolutely.
Beforehand, before it is actually done.
You would have to enter, if there's a redevelopment agreement that's being entered into, the pilot would have to be entered into this.
And does, under pilot programs, I'm not sure, does any money often go to schools or just to municipalities under pilot programs like MSK, Muslim Academy, which is a wonderful development, but is that money going to schools under their pilot program?
I guess the question with pilot programs are, do food stores put kids in the schools?
Well, I think there was also 400 units of housing that was up out
Which
here.
wouldn't be part of a pilot agreement.
But the commercial tax base, does a pilot program put money into the commercial tax base? Which everybody says commercial taxes are great because it provides township expenses and money for the schools.
That's exactly what it does.
No, it doesn't provide money for the schools as well.
It depends on how the pilot agreement is negotiated. It can be any...
And that's up to the Township Committee?
Yes. Well, it's a negotiation with township and the developer.
Every pilot agreement is individually negotiated on a per property basis.
Will you here say right now that you would most absolutely demand those taxes to go to the schools as that part of the...
On the residential part, absolutely. You'd have to-
No, on the commercial part?
I can't make that determination until we negotiate that.
I was speaking to the mayor.
I've got the same vote as the mayor, sir.
I'm sorry, you're confusing me. You said
I have the same vote
other
as one.
people, but
The answer is, that's a decision for this entire governing body. So for me to give you a specific answer,
well,
with regard to those two,
considering you all seem to vote as one.
well, look, I appreciate the sentiment. You asked me a question, I'm answering your question.
I understand.
Thank you. So
I was just making that very clear to everybody behind me.
Fine, so let me make myself clear. This committee operates as 5 independent members, and I will not say yes or no one way or the other. Prior to us negotiating and consulting with that developer and this governing body. So there's been no decision made to date, right? That's all I can tell you.
When you stated earlier, or someone here stated earlier, that the planned developments offer greater leverage for the town, doesn't that also work the other way as well as part of the contract?
I'm not following you, sir.
Doesn't a developer then have greater leverage over the town as well? To demand the terms of the contract.
Contract by its very nature is negotiated by both parties.
So, but you were saying this is a great plus for the town as far as leverage.
Essentially, what this does, and the administrator can comment further, the area needed redevelopment establishes a redevelopment zone, which creates a zoning overlay onto that zone. Okay? That zoning overlay with the planning board application is then taken to the planning board under an application, and relief or not is then reviewed against that zoning overlay that's created by the redevelopment zone. Okay? So I want you to understand, unless our administrator has something to add to that, I want you to understand the difference between what the action by this governing body is and the action by the planning board.
Yeah, just to clarify further, that what was being talked about before, there are certain design criteria, design guidelines that can be put into a developer's agreement or into a redevelopment plan that can't be done through traditional zoning. So if no redevelopment plan were done, the township and the planning board in particular would be much more constrained in terms of how they could review it. There's virtually no ability to review architecture, materials.
So we have pre-year elevations, that's the letters the town has.
It's not just that. I'm just saying those are things that are often included that the planning board can't do. But in the end, the township ultimately has the ability to approve or not approve a redevelopment plan. So the township holds the cards. If the developer seeks something that the township committee thinks is wildly inappropriate, it won't happen.
Sir, we're just about at the end of the
I understand.
5 minutes, and thank you for your comments. If you need us any further, we have you stay for it.
Pedestrian access for that wonderful traffic light that you were installing for Middletown safety, not there. So,
Thank you, sir. That's it. Anyone else wish to be heard? Everyone's entitled to 5 minutes now.
My name is Kathy Rogers. I live at 141 Wilson Avenue in Port Love. I just want to comment on the gentleman there. This committee, regardless of whether they're new or not, has done an excellent job in this township. They have kept our taxes down. They have looked out for the people of this town. They were around after Sandy. These 3 people that just went on here came before the township, the county committee, and they had to let us know how they felt. And before we picked them, we knew what we were putting and what they could do to help this town. You have to realize, you have to start putting some young blood in this town. And these people will do an excellent job. And this township committee has done an excellent job. And I want to comment them for all the work that they have done for us.
Now I'm feeling old.
You're not as old as me.
So, other comments this evening? Ma'am?
Candace Kate, I know White Lopes, Locust. We have to redirect, I got a little drama because we didn't have those questions, but congratulations to those appointed. And when did the board members receive the redevelopment ordinance? Have you received it yourself?
What we saw this evening,
Okay.
yes, prior to this evening.
Okay. And then what I did hear that was good is that the Township Committee now has a much higher level of control, a much greater level of control and requirements. They go much farther, they're much greater than if it was under the typical zoning, the ordinary zoning. So can anyone speak specifically about what specific criteria is in the ordinance that you think goes above and beyond?
So I'll give you a little historical context here, which I believe this redevelopment plan goes far beyond what we could have done under just a general development plan. So in 1994-ish, the original proposal for the then called on that property Towne Centre called for approximately 1.7 million square feet.
Right.
Okay.
That was handled.
Hold on, may I finish, ma'am?
Yes.
With 400 market rate units to go along with that, and I think the low-income ones were 20% at 25. 80 units, right? So then in 2009, we had a settlement for the current PD zone, right, which was court-ordered.
Yeah.
which was approximately commercial of 610,000 square feet, with 424 market rate units and approximately 80 affordables. Mr. Reiner, correct me if I'm wrong, but the proposed Circus Liquors Redevelopment Plan is somewhere around 400,000 square feet that we would entertain, correct?
Yes.
For the zoning? So that is 400% less than the original proposal. It is also 50% less than the 2009 standard court-ordered agreement for commercial, notwithstanding the amount of units on the residential, which is now decreased also to, if I'm not mistaken, 320 market rate, and the 80 affordables, which we can talk about under different things. So, in my opinion, and that's just my one individual opinion, despite the fact that I may vote the same way on this opinion, potentially, this gives us a lot more control than the 2009.
How about in regards to landscapes specifically?
That also gives us more control, as you saw from Mr. Reiner's
What
presentation.
control is in this ordinance? When I get the ordinance, what am I going to read that shows the more control?
Landscape buffers around.
You're going to read all of the bulk criteria that typically you would find in the zoning ordinance, but they will be specific to this site. Such to create a zoning overlay for the site.
So when I get the ordinance, I'll look specifically the bulk for landscaping? Because, listen, hey, I'd like to hear this out.
Actually, if I'll let Mr. Reiner comment on that.
For each of the board members, just because something to read.
Sure, so just to your last question, to be most accurate, I'd like Mr. Reiner to comment on that, if you don't mind, please. This way he can answer your question better than I can.
So I'm not going to go into specific details, but within the document, there is a section that states landscape standards, which has the requirements for what the setbacks are, the buffers are, what the requirements are for the parking lots, how large they can be, and at which point they need to have a buffer between that portion of that parking lot and another portion of the parking lot. It has requirements for what the terminus, the end point of all the parking lots, required to have medians, what the size trees are, how many trees are required. All of those things are identified specifically in a section called landscape. So when you go through the document, it's very clear in terms of what the requirements are.
Would you say in short that the redevelopment plan is more specific for this site than the zoning ordinance?
Absolutely. The requirements for what's going to be required is a much greater standard in terms of landscape. The plant materials, the size of the plant materials, the location of the plant materials are all far excessive of what zone would typically permit.
Very good, thank you. Did that answer your question, Betty?
It does, but I get a gut feeling it's still a little cookie cutter. Like, I'm asking you guys to please, you have an opportunity to think outside the box. You have an opportunity to try to put in some active green space area, benches, maybe a little waterfall, and I'm just asking you, please think outside the box. And then I'll keep it short because of my time. August 20th is when the second reading will be. Is there any chance that you would postpone it till September, because August is a really high time for people taking vacations. It's like peak season for family vacations. So some of your members may not even be. I don't know. Is there any chance you would consider the second vote in September?
We'll definitely take it into consideration.
All right. Please read the handout because I did put that on there.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Leo, you gotta raise your hand higher than that, Leo. I can't see it.
Leo Christopher, River Plaza, Middletown. I get right to the point. Committee person Fiore proposed a resolution. I'd like to propose one to you to consider to fashion a resolution. I have two articles in front of me. The proposal, I stick with the framed main idea. I'd like the resolution to address the bonding that's tentatively being planned, as you know, for the referendum and November ballot. Okay? Too much of this has to do with pensions, ways to get money from lotteries, investments in Wall Street. We have two Golden Sachs, ex-governor and the present governor, and they had a lot of problems. The poor, like Golden Sachs, they all want bailouts, and they get them. Okay, in one form or another, they get them. So this is looking for a bailout. And one statistic I'd like to give you is this is from the Asbury Park Press, July 9. Just one sentence, long sentence perhaps. The managers of the state's nearly $77 billion in pension investments have increasingly factored in social and environmental justice, using the power of the purse to push companies to change the way they do business. So you can pick winners and losers in an executive position affecting a private enterprise. I'll push that article aside and go to the one that has to do with the resolution that you're proposing. This is, I'll give this to Heidi, perhaps she can copy it for you folks, both articles. I'd like to give this one back. This is from Wednesday, July 11, 2018, Asbury Park Press. I have salvaged this stuff, articles, dumpster diving to get the Asbury Park Press. See what I go through to provide you with information. This is talking about rounded up, a $1 million bond debt. The problem with it is the state, I believe, according to the Constitution, can't increase a budget by 1 or 3%. I've lost track of what it is. Anyone count me here? Okay, that's one position. The budgeteers of the state government are limited in increasing the money. Say 1%, could be 3%. The way they get by through that, they bond money, principal and interest. They never tell us what the interest is, and I've tried to get the debt statement through Craig Marshall, and I couldn't get it. Not because he refused, it was probably told that it wasn't available. And if it's not available in an office, they don't have to work for you to get it. But I read that it's about, the debt of the state is $40 billion. This is off the top of my head, so you know, I could lose my head. This article has the governor wanting, borrowing $500 million for vocational and technical school programs, and another $450 for security. And so that comes to $950,000. The people who wrote, the editors who wrote this don't like this because it's a conglomeration of many individual things, and people will vote for it for the one thing they want, even though they don't want 5 other things.
Leo,
So,
I just got the 5-minute nod from our clerk, so if you could wrap it up, that'd be great.
okay, I certainly will, and I will. You've given me more time than you've given the other people, and I appreciate that. Just trying to prove I have a sense of humor.
Just wrap it
So
up, please.
I ask you, I hand these to Heidi to copy them, give them to you folks that look after our money, how it's spent and how it isn't spent, and never will be spent. I ask you to consider crafting a resolution to oppose the idea of spending $1 million for these things when he's increasing the budget $2.4 billion, and that may be too much. He's capped. Thank you very much for the extra time.
Thank you, Leo. Anyone else wish to be heard this evening? Ben?
Hello, Sue Griffin from Middletown, Holland Road. First of all, congratulations and thank you for all your service, for all the new appointees. Secondly, thank you for your comments regarding school funding. It's impossible for schools, for school districts to properly budget for facilities, programs, and students when state aid is being removed after budgets have been approved and voted on based on the aid that has been replaced. This is the second year in a row that that's happened, and Middletown has been recipient of lower aid this year and last year, as have other districts in the state. It's unfair of us stakeholders, particularly to our children. I appreciate your efforts to work with other municipalities, I urge you to work with our shared services to help this never happen again. It's not fair. It never happened in the first place. Anything you can do would be greatly appreciated to every taxpayer. And it's not only in this town of Middletown, but in the state. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. Thanks, Sue, very much for those comments. I agree with you. Last year, I worked very hard with Deputy Mayor Fiore to help restore the funding that we lost last year. Luckily, Middletown did get that cut back after the budget was passed. But one thing that I did want to point out this year, obviously, you're absolutely right. Year after year, June 30th comes and there's still no budget. And year after year, Middletown continues to be a target of the legislature on different school funding formulas, and we consistently hear this is a new and improved school funding formula. And it's never new and improved for Middletown, it's continually a cut. And Leo brought up low-tech schools, and it was brought to my attention today that they bonded for low-tech increases, and Monmouth County got not one penny of increases to low-tech, which I think is appalling and disgusting. But once again, Monmouth County gets $0 from the state to increase that. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Sue, thanks for your comments, because you're 100% correct.
The other thing that I think people should know is we get our
Sue, it's got to be updated. But I want to, well, you come back up. I don't want to prolong it, please.
Schools get their state aid numbers from the state beginning of March, and that's what we base our budgets on. And then we go out to the public, we advertise them, we get the public's input, and then we go to the public, vote on the budgets, and after that is when the budget, and the state takes the state aid grant.
It's reckless. We find that absurd, that you pass a budget, you start spending dollars in that budget, you rely on dollars in the budget, and then the state government will then restrict those funds. I don't know how you operate when that happens.
You can't effectively operate. I mean, it's not fair, it's not prudent. You can't have it.
And we'll close it. Thanks. Thank you. Anyone else wish to hear this evening? Sir. Thank you, sir. My glasses.
Good evening, members of the Township Committee. My name is Michael Casino, I reside at 46 Alexander Drive. I want to comment very briefly with respect to Deputy Mayor Fiori's resolution, or proposed resolution, I guess condemning the removal of $5.5 million, and I share his upsetment with that. That certainly doesn't seem to treat Middletown very fairly, and it affects the taxpayers significantly because you have to make up the lack of funds there. But resolutions don't generally affect public policy. They are part of the pejorative sense, but it's government grandstand. And I support the resolution, but it's not going to change more than likely what's happening in Trenton. But what you do have the ability to change, as brought out by one of the members of the public, is faced with this redevelopment agreement, which ultimately will be entered into, as your council advised, if this redevelopment plan passes and the ordinance is passed, is an opportunity to get this redeveloper to commit funds to the school system. Traditionally, 95% of the funds that they pilot go towards the municipal governing body or the municipal purposes. 5% to the county, and the land is generally taxed such that each of the entities that receive tax revenues get that, get the land, get some component of the land value. But if you have the leverage with respect to this development, I would urge you to put the developer's feet to the fire and have the developer dedicate certain monies to the education side. Normally it doesn't happen, but this governing body has an opportunity to make that happen. This is a development that is certainly something this developer wants. It's certainly something that he is, according to everyone here, we exercise significant leverage over this developer. Let's try and use that leverage to get some money into the Board of Education through the pilot. I know that when that was brought up, there was a discussion that we're going to reserve judgment on it, but other things were not quite received so lukewarmly tonight. Like we're going to make sure the architectural details are in place, and we're going to make sure that the roof lines are very nicely set forth. We're going to make certain that this is not a cookie cutter strip mall project. I say as important as that is putting some money on that pilot into the Board of Education. So I would ask you to commit to doing that for the benefit of Middletown students.
This evening?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, sir. Thank you. Anyone else that wish to be heard this evening? All right. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Second.